picturesque town of Ferring in West Sussex, you'll find a garage which bears the name of one of the most important characters in the history of the Mini. John Cooper has spent much of his life working with the car, and his name has become inseparably linked with the tuning of the famous A-Series engine. Even today, he can't keep away from the little cars. He still spends many hours behind his desk running his Honda car dealership, which ticks over alongside the Mini tuning operation. In the late 50s, John Cooper, whose family had twice won the Formula One Constructors' Championship, took charge of the BMC Works Formula Junior team, and at the same time became firm friends with the Mini's inventor, Alec Issigonis. Cooper immediately knew that he could work wonders with the little car, and in those days there was no red tape at BMC. The man in charge was George Harriman, who recognised Cooper's ability.
It was basically a car to replace the Goggomobil or the Messerschmitt and that type of thing, but during the Suez crisis, you know. And I actually took one of the Mini prototypes, it may have even had a 1000cc engine in it, I'm not sure on that day, over to the Italian Grand Prix. In fact, Salvadori drove it over there. And when we got to Monza, Lampredi, who was the chief engineer of Fiat, who had been the chief engineer of Ferrari, said to me, "What have you got there?" I said, "Well, it's the new Austin 7. We didn't even know what it was going to be, but you haven't seen it, you know." And he said, "Can I try it?" And he drove it all around the grounds at Monza. And he came back and he said to me, "John," he said, "if that car wasn't so damned ugly, I'd shoot myself." He said, "That is the car of the future." And I've never forgotten that. That was that. Anyway, as I said, the Mini was launched, and the press liked it, you know, at the time. I remember going to Chobham when it was launched. And both my drivers, who were running my Grand Prix cars, Bruce McLaren and Sir Jack Brabham, had Minis, and of course they put Formula Junior engines in them, didn't they? They couldn't stop them because they still had drum brakes on them. And they were great, you know. They realized not only were they a small car, very light, but they were great fun to drive and handled well. So I went and saw Issigonis about it, and he said, "No," he said, "I designed this car for the district nurse. It's not really a racing car." And I said, "Alec," I said, "you've got something there, mate." I said, "You've got the first four-seater car that handles and runs like a two-seater sports car." Anyway, we took one to, I went to see George Harriman and said, "Look, this car's so great, you ought to do something with it." And he said, "Well, take one away and do it." So I think Issigonis was quite keen, really, but he always made out it was at the beginning, you know. Anyway, we took one away and we put an 1100 Formula Junior engine in, I think it was, and I knew Lockheed's very well at that time, Jack Emmott of Lockheed's, and I persuaded him. He was developing a disc brake for a Mini to prove that if it went in a Mini, it would go in anything, the disc brake. So we actually took it back after a fortnight, I think it was, 3 weeks, to George Harriman, with disc brakes, remote gear shift, 1100 engine, and he drove it around the grounds of Longbridge, and he said, "This is great, you know." He said, "We'll make it." And I said, "Well, you've got to make 1,000 to get the car homologated." And he said, "Will we sell 1,000?" I said, "I think you will, you know." Anyway, that was the first Mini Cooper.
The car's true potential was soon apparent. With Paddy Hopkirk at the wheel, it was to become a real winner, and the BMC management once again gave Cooper a free rein in further development.
I went and saw Harriman again, and I said, "Look, this car can win rallies, you know, but it wants, you really want a special one." But I don't want to call it a special because that would be a mistake. So that's when we called it the S. And that's when we brought out first of all, the 1070S, which went out straight away, and Paddy won the Monte Carlo Rally with it. And at a later date, we brought a special homologation special, a 970, to win the 1000cc car in the touring category, which we won, the European touring category. And then we brought the real one, the 1275S, which won the Monte Carlo Rally a further, well, it won it a further 3 times, but once it was disqualified. We actually won the Monte Carlo 4 years running, but the 3rd year, when we finished first, second and third, we were disqualified for having the headlamps dipping onto the spot lamps. That was purely a French thing to get the Citroëns to win. It was a shame, really, that one. But, I mean, the S won everything, really, the European Touring Car, the British Saloon Car Championship, the Rally Championship, and the Tulip Rally, the Alpine Rally, and it was great.
The 1275 Coopers had an unprecedented run of victories on international rallies. Paddy Hopkirk became the sport's first real celebrity with his many successes. On the racetracks, the car became a firm favourite with spectators and drivers alike. John Rhodes had his own methods of controlling the Mini.
Smokey Rhodes was fantastic, you know. I mean, I think he started before the brakes were as good as they were, and he used to turn the wheels and smoke them to turn the speed off and that sort of thing into the corner. There was always great stories about the Mini racing, you know, when you spoke to anybody about them. Great fun.
The Mini Cooper era lasted 10 years until Lord Stokes took charge at Longbridge. He killed off the car, citing feeble excuses about insurance costs. But by 1989, the wheel had turned full circle when Rover contacted John Cooper.
Rover's asked me to go and see them and said, look, will you come and talk about the Mini? Well, at that time, we were making a kit for Japan because Japan, about 6 years ago, were really enthusiastic about the Mini. And they wanted us to make them a 1300 6 years ago, but we couldn't do it. But we made them a kit for the 1000cc, which fitted in an elaborate box on the back seat of the Mini, which was an aftermarket fitment. We sold over 1,000 of those to Japan. And the Autocar asked us to do one for England for a road test, which we did. And it had wonderful write-up, and it went very well. And we sold quite a few. We had 75 orders straight away after the Autocar write-up. And Rovers then said to us, look, we've driven one of these cars, you know, would you like us to give it warranty, and we'll make a special car for it. That was a great success, and they had 2 cars and did 22,000 miles to prove it was all right. We sold those through the Rover dealers. And then we went up to Rovers again, my son and myself, and they said, what should we do now? I said, well, build the Mini Cooper, the 1275. And they said, well, there are problems with emissions and so forth, and the noise, the drive-by noise. At the time, they said, look, we were going to end the Mini in 1992, but there's such an enthusiasm from Japan and France and Germany, we've got to keep it going. And we're going to make, the special product boys are going to make 1,000 of your Coopers to see how it goes. Well, they could have sold 5,000 of them when it came out, you know, that one. So it went into production in September for 1 year, and then the following year, for emission purposes and so that the Mini could carry on, they brought out the single-point injection, which is running now. And it's amazing, really, that, as I said, a pushrod engine and 5-port is still so torquey and such an interesting car to drive. When the Mini Cooper was relaunched, it was a great success in Germany and France. Townspeople were buying them, easy to park and good fun to drive. And as a matter of interest, I went over to the Geneva show with the injection one, and that was the first time they'd sold a Mini in Switzerland for 10 years because of the emissions and the noise and that sort of thing, and it complied with the new regulations. And actually they sold, I think it was, they sold 200 or 150 or 200 before the show, on the press day before the show opened. So it was a great success over there. I went to the Paris show, it was a great success over there as well. And it's sold well in Holland and Belgium, Hong Kong. We've got a special one we're doing for somebody in Hong Kong with air conditioning and special colour and so forth and so forth. And I mean, it's amazing the sort of people that are buying Minis, you know, get involved with.
The old Mini Cooper was always an enjoyable and fun car to drive, but today's cars are much more refined. Which does John Cooper prefer on the road?
The old ones are great, but the new ones are much more sophisticated, in all fairness. They're much quieter, and it's a much less tiring car to drive. It's just as much fun, I think it is. Some people say it isn't, but it is. It's just as much fun, really. I use a Mini every day, a Mini Cooper every day. There it is.
But it doesn't stop there. There have been numerous spin-offs for the Cooper setup, which has helped his business escalate. His parts catalogue is distributed worldwide.
So many people come to see us from all over the world, you know, the sort of, I don't know why, they're sort of, it's rather nice really, it's a bit of a shrine sort of thing. They've asked us for these goodies: steering wheels, door handles, clothing, seats, leather seats, performance kits, you know, that sort of thing, and dashboards, the walnut dashboards and those sort of things. So it's good fun really.
And this is what your Mini could look like if you buy everything. But it's in the field of tuning the Mini's A-Series engine that John Cooper made his name.
Well, this is one of the last S's made. It's about 22 years old, a 71 Cooper S, and you can see it's got the twin SU carburetors, which incidentally when they reproduced the Mini Cooper 3 years ago, we introduced the twin carburetor package as an S-Pack for that, you know. And because of the emissions and the drive-by noise and the modern European standards, we now come over to the later car, which is the single-point injection car there. But I mean, as far as tuning the engines is concerned, the A-Series, I mean, one of the most important things, of course, is the cylinder head flowing the cylinder head, polishing and flowing the cylinder head, larger valves sizes, and of course camshaft plays a big part, that sort of thing, and fuel injection or carburation, and of course exhaust plays a big part as well. But and of course you can go stage further by balancing and that sort of thing. And it is a tuner's dream, the A-Series engine, because they all know it, and there's plenty of people around with all the parts for them and that sort of thing. So it's, you know, it's one of those things.
What do you think is the actual key to being a successful engine tuner?
Well, cleanliness is a very important factor, and not making mistakes, of course, and reading a lot of books that things have been done in the past, especially on the A. Many books and things have been done on the A-Series, and as I said, I've been involved with the A-Series now nearly 35, 40 years, and heads and crankshafts and all sorts of things, and some of the things that we brought out on the S, the nitrided cranks and the pneumonic valves, the bigger oil pumps and bigger radiators and those sort of things, you know. It's one of those things really. It's a very simple engine to tune, but you can make mistakes.
So, thanks to John Cooper, the Mini lives on and is still a common sight on our roads today.